Hey, people. How are you guys doing this morning? Happy Monday to you. Thank God that you lived to see another day. This is your friend. Vincent E. Brown, coming at you all the way from a place called Durham, North Carolina. Sharks in the water. Basically, what I wanted to talk about today is the selectiveness of politics, and let me let you all know something. I don't like politics. I don't like it at all. I can't stand it. I think it's what's tearing this country apart. I could be wrong, but this is what I've observed. Basically, politics says choose a side, and whatever side you choose, don't listen to the other side, just choose this side. Even if the other side is right, even if the other side is telling the truth, just ignore them, stick to your side. That's what I see in politics today. Now, if you see something different, you can correct me on that. I have no problem with it. But I'm just saying what I have observed personally. But anyway, we all know about, Trump and people who hate him, and they're not willing to give him the benefit of a doubt of anything. And, and I know this sounds cliche, but the man could cure cancer and people will have a problem with it. I've had people tell me everything that Donald Trump does, it turns to poop and everything, and he just messes up everything. Okay, well, what is he messing up? Be specific. People tell you, it's a whole lot of things that he's doing. Okay, well then, if it's a whole lot of things that he's doing that is so bad, you should be able to pick one out and specify what he's doing bad. But people have Trump derangement syndrome, TDS, and basically I'll go, well, we call it TDS because it's focused on a certain person right now, but it's really a broader term that I call hater syndrome. It's when you hate someone so much that even when they do something good, you ignore it. You ignore the good. You just focus on any little negative thing about that person. Someone could come up and say, well, I grew up with that guy, and I remember when he was 10 years old, he kicked a puppy, and people, because they hate the person, they just believe it right off the bat. And the person didn't even kick a puppy. But they'll believe it because they hate this person so much. Now, let me tell you all something, and I've said this before. I am not a fan of Donald Trump. When he was first elected, I didn't vote because I didn't like Hillary Clinton and I didn't like Donald Trump. I thought both of them were going to mess up the country. But Donald Trump got into office and he at least attempted to perform what he said he would do. And my wife was telling me, said, you should have voted for Trump. You should have voted for Trump. I was like, because I'm looking at Trump and I'm seeing, the Apprentice and seeing him all around, throwing his dollars around and everything. I was like, this man's not going to be a serious president. But it turns out he was, and he won me over. But I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. I'm not a fan. I like him being president, though. I think he's the best president in my lifetime, if ever. I think he's even better than Reagan was. And that's saying a lot. But anyway, when Donald Trump announced that he was running for president and he was running as a conservative, running as a Republican, let me just say that, because I don't think he's I don't think he's full-blown conservative. But when he was running as a Republican, people didn't like that because, this was this was Donald Trump. He got his money. People talking about him in rap songs and everything. He makes special cameos in movies and things like that. And here's the thing that people forget. Donald Trump used to pal around with a lot of black folks. There are pictures of him with Rosa Parks, Jesse Jackson, I think Al Sharpton too, Muhammad Ali. And all of a sudden, because Donald Trump was running as a Republican, he's a racist. And our faithful news media, they took that and they ran with it. And so now everybody today thinks Donald Trump is a racist, though they can't tell you why. They can't tell you why he's a racist. People will tell you, I've heard him say so many racist things. Okay, tell me one thing he said that was racist. And they can't tell you. That's hater syndrome. You think you have the facts, but you really don't. You hate somebody, but you can't really explain why you hate them. You just hate them. And that's what a lot of people are doing today. So Donald Trump wanted to set up a UFC ring or whatever at the White House. People had a problem with that. Me, I'd be like, nah, I wouldn't do it like that. But, hey, I really didn't have a problem with it. I didn't. So what? Now he wants to clean up the reflecting pool. And folks, let me tell you all something. That reflecting pool can get nasty. It can get real nasty. I know this because back in the 70s, me, my brother, and my cousin, we were walking around the reflecting pool. And if you put your hand in it, it felt slimy. And you saw little critters swimming around there. I think they should clean that reflecting pool at least once a year. I mean, why not? I mean, it looks nice when you're standing from the Lincoln Memorial and it looks nice and everything. But when you get close to it, you're like, oh, this is nasty. Someone needs to clean this up. So, Donald Trump wanted to clean up the reflecting pool. People had a problem with that. All these millions of dollars, he's going to clear the reflecting. I mean, give the guy a break. I mean, really, give the guy a break. I mean, that's petty. And then, he cleans it up and people say, oh, look at all that algae in there. He's pouring all these chemicals in there. He's doing this, he's doing that. Turns out people are sabotaging his cleanup efforts. And so the results of the sabotage make Donald Trump look bad. That's what people want. And they say, look at it. It's nastier than it was before. He's pouring chemicals in there. That's vandalism. First of all, they act like Donald Trump single-handedly did this, which Donald Trump did not. And second of all, once again, this is a result of sabotage because people just don't like Donald Trump. I mean, why are you going to get so petty about him cleaning up the reflecting pool? And I showed to somebody, I showed a news report that I saw. It showed that a former Olympian and at least one other person, they have been arrested for vandalizing the pool. And they said this person was just cleaning paint chips. Come on now, come on. Paint chips. Oh, this random person, oh, I see some paint chips. I'm just going to get these paint. Nah. I was born on Wednesday, but I wasn't born last Wednesday. And so, they try to make it like, Donald Trump, everything he does, he just messes up everything. No, that is what your convoluted thinking makes you say. The problem isn't Donald Trump. The problem is the hatred that's surrounding him. I already told you about Whoopi Goldberg last week. She talking about, how racist Donald Trump is and how can this man be so racist, and she's worth more than your typical white person. But folks, stop the hate. I've seen hate on both sides, conservative and liberal, but I see it way more often on the liberal side. And everything Donald Trump does, every breath he takes, we got to criticize him. And I told you all my problems with Donald Trump. I'm not going to go into that right now. I already told you my problem with Donald Trump. But folks, stop blaming everything that is bad and negative on Donald Trump. Joe Biden gets into office. Joe Biden got into office between 2020 and 2024. And, before he got into office, Donald Trump had an exit strategy for the troops in Afghanistan. And you had to have a strategy in doing that. You can't just say, okay, everybody come on home. So Joe Biden, he says, okay, everybody come on home. And it turned out to be a disaster. 13 Marines got shot and killed. People hanging off of planes and things like that. Millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars of American equipment was left in Afghanistan. Who did they blame? They didn't blame Joe Biden. They blamed Donald Trump. Donald Trump wasn't even in office. How in the world are you going to blame Donald Trump for that? Because Donald Trump, because a lot of people hate him, he becomes a convenient scapegoat. Now, I'm not here to cape for Donald Trump or anything like that. I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I really have no axe to grind. I have no dog in the fight, really, because I just don't like politics. I don't like it. I don't like what I see from both sides. I vote because I'm an American citizen, but I have no loyalty to a party. But the hatred for Donald Trump needs to stop. Okay, we need to come together as Americans. Stop the hate. And a lot of this stems from what we were taught in school and whatever, what the news media is spitting into your face from the TV screen, things like that. And like I said, it doesn't take much to do a little bit of research and do a little digging into what is being thrown at us. I've gotten to the point where I hear something bad going on. I say, okay, let me wait for the evidence. Just like with the Carmelo Anthony thing. Let me wait for the evidence. People say, oh, Carmelo Anthony was jumped and everything and stuff like that. Let's wait for the evidence. And then, you see the evidence and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, people were lying. Okay, I got it. But a lot of people, when it comes to their favorite dude, like if it was an Obama, they say, well, let's give him a chance. Let's wait and see. But someone like a Donald Trump, once the accusation is out there, they believe it at the snap of a finger. That's hater syndrome. You hate the man so much that the least little negative thing that is mentioned about him, you just believe it at the drop of a hat. But your favorite person can be there, and he could probably rob a bank, kill some people on his way out and everything, and you'll sit there and make excuses for him. It's called hypocrisy. And this hypocrisy is born out of haters syndrome. You select who you're mad at. And some of us, we're so caught up in it, we don't even know that we're operating in it. We think we're right for thinking the way we do. But when we see how, give me a second. We see how you respond when one person does something and then another person does the same thing and we see a different response. But you don't recognize that. You don't look at yourself and say, wait a minute, why am I so mad at what this person is doing? But then another person does the same thing and I don't get so mad about it. That's hater syndrome. And hater syndrome is just some term I come up with. It could be known by something else. Of course, a lot of people this day and age, they call it Trump derangement syndrome because it often, a lot of this hate involves Trump. And I only call it I call it hater syndrome because, you know, and folks, let me tell you all something. The reason why I call it that is because when I was coming up in school, there were a lot of people who didn't like me. They just didn't like me. It wasn't because I did anything to them or anything. They just didn't like me for whatever reason. So whenever something would happen to one person, that person would get a lot of sympathy and everything, but something happened to me, they'll make fun of me and everything and stuff like that, you know, because they didn't like me. And, you know, and I wondered why people didn't like me. But, you know, this day and age, look, that was 40 something years ago. But this day and age, I'm too mature for that. I'm like, you don't like me? Okay, I don't care. I don't give a rip pair of jeans what you care about me or anything like that. But hatred is fueling a lot of people's opinions about people, and they form those opinions. They're not educated opinions. They just form them because, yeah, this just gives me something else to hate this person. This just adds another level of hate that I have for this person. And, you know, let's stop the hate. And when I saw this thing about the reflecting pool, people, oh my gosh. Oh, this is so petty. Let the man clean, let the man do his job, okay? Because I can guarantee you, if Obama was doing the same thing, nobody would say anything about it. No one would say anything about it because, oh, we like Obama. Yeah, Obama was a great president. No, he wasn't. I'm not going to go into detail about that. And then, you know, and here's the thing that gets me is a lot of people call themselves Christians. You see them in churches and they're shouting and, oh, hallelujah, running around doing cartwheels and talking about I'm in the overflow and all that crazy mess. But then they leave the church service and they follow along with the culture. They follow along with the culture. They care more about the culture than they do about Christianity. That's something that bothers me too. You know, and it was something, you know, along the lines of what I was talking about last week when I was soliciting people's prayers about whether to, you know, start a ministry. And I see this so much that people care more about the culture than they do about Christianity. You know, you got your preachers who are defending LGBTQ, they're defending racism, they're defending socialism, and they're often infusing their services with entertainment and things like that instead of preaching the word. And I see this in so many churches. And this is why a lot of Christian folk, they look no different than the culture. Oh, I love Jesus. I read the Bible, but there's no reflection in your character on that. But, you know, anyway, I feel like I'm about to start ranting again and everything. But getting back to the hatred for Donald Trump, yeah, TDS is real. Trump derangement syndrome is real. And Trump could go buy up a field. He could plant, you know, all kinds of crops and everything. that help with the homeless or help with the hungry and everything, people will have a problem with that. So, and this is why I was telling my wife the other day, I said, you know, Trump just needs to be quiet, just do his job, because no matter what he does, people are going to criticize him for it. People are going to criticize him for it. The man could sneeze and they'll probably accuse him of spreading COVID. You know, I mean, it's just things like that. And that's the thing I wish Trump would do, would just stop answering your critics. That no matter what you say, no matter what explanation you give, just do your thing. You know, because they're always going to hate you for whatever you do. So, but anyway, you all don't just take my word for it because I said something about it or anything like that. Check it out, you know. And if you see anything that I said that was wrong, just let me know. Let me know. I no pride here. I'm open for correction. Let me just say that. I am open for correction. But you all stay safe out there. Stay healthy. You know, this is Vincent E. Brown. I'm signing off. And until the next time, I'll see you on the rebound.